Hello everyone, good morning. Today is 10th of August and welcome to the Hindu newspaper analysis discussion. So friends, in this video we discuss the entire Hindu newspaper along with the background as well as the way forward in the relevant articles. Now guys, before starting, please download this explainer PDF from the Telegram channel. In this particular PDF, I had given the entire synoptic notes. So please download it first and you can refer it along with the newspaper discussion. Fine. So guys, let's start with the today's discussion. Now, before starting, we will be taking the overview of the entire newspaper so that you can see that which articles are going to be important in the today's newspaper. So here I have the Delhi edition. This is the page number 1 of the Hindu. The first article, Nitish Kumar dumps BJP for RJD, set to form the government afresh. So guys, here we can see that in the Bihar, basically the government is being reshuffled. Okay. Now you don't need to go in the detail in this particular article because the guys article happens to be a political article, so no need to go too much into the detail. Maharashtra cabinet expanded again. Nothing important with respect to the UPSC has been contained in this particular article. CBI issues fresh summons against the Anubrata Mandal. Again, nothing is important. Fine. Noida politician arrested. Fine. So guys, on to the page number 1. Actually, rarely some very good articles are there. Fine. No need to go in this particular direction. After that, the city section, allegations against me are baseless. Fine. MCD public hearings and all these things. Okay. So then so all these particular things guys are actually not at all important, and the same thing happens into the other editions also. So the regional news, fine, that law and order crime related news are not important for the examination. Now guys, here there is a small article, Chhattisgarh implements the PESA rules. So basically, what are these PESA rules? Fine, how it will lead to the empowerment of the grassroots democracy. So this is article, though it is a small one, but it is very important for our examination. We'll see this particular article. After that, the partial relief for Rajnikant's wife. Nothing is important in this particular direction. Then guys, moving on. Fine, rain eases, but Kerala on the edge. So we have seen few days back also that basically there have been a flood-like situation into the Kerala. Okay, so on that particular direction, this article is talking about. Then again, the political articles etc have been given. Nothing is important in this particular direction. Then guys, coming to the editorial page. So on editorial page we have some good editorials. Number 1, the space to learn. So this particular article talks about the recent SSLV launch that happened and there was some kind of a glitches that came. So we'll see this particular article. Then the withdrawal of the data bill has been mentioned, how it is a bad move. Fine, we'll see that whether this article is important. We'll see it. Fair trial goes beyond courts. Now this is a very good article with respect to the police ethics, media ethics. We'll see this. Then the shared history. So guys, it talks about basically the Commonwealth Games, fine, the medals that have been won there and all those things are being discussed. Okay, now guys, one particular thing I would like to tell you is that the sport related current affairs, sports news, they are not asked into the UPSC examination. Fine, just 2 years back there was 1 or 2 questions that were asked, but before that and even after that the questions have not been asked. So no need to go too much in this particular thing because analyzing the past trend, this is something that we get to know. Then navigating Sri Lanka's rocky road to recovery. Now guys, understand this particular thing that the Sri Lankan economic crisis is going on. Multiple times we have discussed this particular thing also. That is a though important thing, but guys, everyday development that is coming, that okay, now Sri Lanka is negotiating with the IMF. Now the IMF had sent this particular letter to the Sri Lanka and all these things are not important. So basically you don't need to go to see day by day developments in this particular direction because these things will be changing by the time you will be writing the examination. Guys, even if you're writing this year's mains examination, the Sri Lankan crisis, it is evolving a lot. Okay, and even if you'll write the exam the next year, fine, till then a lot of things would have been changed. Then rankings make no sense. So this is an important article with respect to the NIRF. We'll see this article. Then the text and the context page, the SSLV has been discussed, so we'll discuss that what is this entire issue. Then the guardianship and adoption of the minors. So this article also will see with respect to the gender issues, children related issues. Then can women be true representatives of the people? This article also will see that how the women have played an important role in the parliament or whether there are some deficiencies. Very good article with respect to the GS paper number 2. We'll see. Now population and asset to economy. Shah. So basically, guys, into the past, we have taken many articles onto the topic of demographic dividend. Just a couple of days back, also, there was an article of demographic dividend. So basically, guys, when we talk about the rising Indian population, first of all, according to the United Nations World Population Prospect report that has been released just a few weeks back, according to this report, India is going to take over China as as the most populous country in 2023. So we will become the most populous nation. In this particular direction, whether the population is a burden for India. So guys, no, population right now is not a burden for India. I would like to give you two logics here. Number one, India's total fertility rate has reached to 2.0. It means that now the population explosion is not going on in India. India's population is going to stabilize, though right now it is increasing because of a population momentum effect, but it will stabilize. Second thing, guys, is that our population, we have young population right now. Okay, the average age of Indian population is 28 years. So because of this young population, we use a particular word, that is the demographic dividend. So our population is rather a kind of a strength for India. It is a demographic dividend. Okay, so this is something. However, guys, this is something that you need to keep in your mind. Then Bangladesh river water deal likely, will see what has been mentioned here. Then the India terms Gaza violence as grave concern in the UN meet. So basically, guys, a few days back also I have told you that the United Nations Security Council, right now India is a non-permanent elected member into the United Nations Security Council, and India is hosting the meet. India will host the meet onto the counter-terrorism. So basically the Gaza, okay, the Gaza Strip violence, fine, India had said that it is not acceptable, and by that matter any such kind of violence and such kind of things we never accept also. Then the political, all the articles on this particular page are the political articles, fine, no need to go in this particular thing. Then guys, moving on, Dalit coin yatra ends as center refuses permission. So basically a yatra was carried where basically a bronze coin, okay, a bronze coin, okay, as well as 20 lakh rupees into the coins were to be given to the government for the construction of the new parliamentary building. Okay, but that particular thing has been stopped. Fine. So such a kind of a thing. It is a not important article with respect to much of a examination. Then the monkeypox complications are more common in children. Fine. Silent march to recall partition. Murmu's election showcases strength of India's democracy. How? Because guys, basically Miss Draupadi Murmu, she is the youngest president. She is the women president who belongs to the tribal community. Okay, so we can see that she is going to replace the earlier. She has replaced the former president who belonged to the Dalit community, and now the tribal president has come. So it shows that how Indian democracy is giving so many of the. It is possible here only that it is giving so much of the opportunities. Okay, then the consensual sex on a genuine promise of marriage, not rape. So guys, many times this particular issue comes that the people, they say that they have carried in a consensual sexual activity, but when they refuse to marry, then allegation of rape is levied. So Supreme Court had said that if a consensual sexual activity has happened, okay, even on a promise of marriage, okay, so it is not actually a rape. Fine. So this is something. Then guys, moving on, world page, FBI searches Donald Trump's estate, not important for examination. Taiwan holds exercise as China continues drills. So in the past week we have seen that the Nancy Pelosi has visited the Taiwan, and after that the confrontation between the Taiwan and China has increased. So on that particular line the issue is coming. However, no need to go too much into the detail in this. Then coming on to the business page. So onto the business page, the corporate trends etc. have been given. Then the PSU health insurance came to these many crores in 5 years. Okay, so now basically guys, see these numbers etc. Fine. As I told you many number of times that these all the details, numerical details, they tend to change. So you don't need to go and remember these particular datas also. Fine. So this is about the newspaper, and then we have the sports page. So guys, by this newspaper overview, I expect that you are able to understand that which articles are to be read in detail and which articles only headlines are important and which articles are not at all important, because identification of the article is the most important thing if you want to complete your newspaper within 1 hour. Now, moving on. So let's take all the relevant articles as we have discussed into the overview in detail. So guys, every class I start with a GS quotation. So today I'm going to take the quotation from the Greek philosopher Aristotle. So Aristotle says that educating the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. So if only if you are inculcating the rote learning, if you are only teaching the skills, fine, without teaching the heart some education, such education is useless. So what we mean by educating the heart? By educating the heart, we mean that a person need to be taught the ethics, person need to be taught morals, and the most importantly the virtues. What are virtues and why virtues are important? So ethics, morals and virtues, they are needed to be taught, and that is the education of heart. And only the education of heart included with the education of mind is the complete education. So even in our Indian education system, such focus needs to be there. Now guys, we have already come out with the new education policy 2020, and the new education policy 2020 has also focused on value based education. So as the value based education is being focused, so through the NEP also we are trying to educate the heart as well. Now you can use this entire reference in your GS paper number 4, ethics. Fine, within the ethics, the value inculcation and the role of institutions in value inculcation has been mentioned in the topic number 1. You can use it there. So that's all about the GS quotation, guys. Fine, please use these references, and even if you want in GS paper number 2 as well as in essay, you can use it. Now taking up the first article. Now guys, here I have clubbed actually the two articles. One is from the editorial section and other is from the text and the context section. Both are talking about the SSLV failure that has recently happened. So this entire issue we will be understanding from the very scratch, and the points which you need to focus upon I will be telling you here. So guys, first of all, let me tell you little bit of a background. Okay, and by the way, this particular article, it could be important for GS paper number 3, GS paper number 3 science and technology, fine, as well as their so let's first of all discuss the background. Now guys, the background goes like this, that recently ISRO had launched the flight of SSLV. Now what is SSLV? SSLV stands for Small Satellite Launch Vehicle. Now guys, the Small Satellite Launch Vehicle, it is a launch vehicle which has been designed to carry the small satellites, so small payloads, into the lower Earth orbits. Fine, already guys we have the GSLV as well as the PSLV. So GSLV and PSLV are already there, but these launch vehicles are used to place the satellites into the higher Earth orbits, as well as they can carry the big satellites. So therefore, in order to carry the small satellites, we have this SSLV, that is a Small Satellite Launch Vehicle. Now guys, recently a flight of the SSLV was carried, and this particular flight was carrying two of the satellites. What were these satellites? Fine, let's see them. So the first was the Earth Observation Satellite 2, EOS2, and the second was the Azadi Sat. So these two satellites were carried on this SSLV flight. Now first of all, what was the purpose of this particular flight, and then we'll see that what happened. So first of all, the Earth Observation Satellite EOS2, it was to be first of all placed at a height of 350 km above the equator. So into a lower Earth orbit at 350 km it was to be placed. It was to be placed at an inclined angle of 37 degrees, and this particular satellite, that is the EOS2, was to be placed into a circular orbit. But actually what happened, this particular satellite got placed into an elliptical orbit. But moreover, though I told you that it was to be placed at a height of 350 kilometers, so rather than the 350 kilometer, this particular satellite actually got placed at just 76 kilometers, even in an elliptical orbit. So therefore this particular satellite has been now lost. Okay, now what was the purpose of this satellite, EOS2 satellite? The purpose of this particular satellite was to carry the optical remote sensing operations. So it would have done the remote sensing, fine. So it could have provided the data with respect to the climate studies, or it could have been used to track the Earth, to keep an eye onto the Earth. So it was a remote sensing. Remote sensing means that it would have sensed the climatic patterns and all these kind of things from a distance. Then the second satellite, which I also was being carried into this SSLV, it was the Azadi Sat. Now guys, this Azadi Sat, it was a satellite which was a very small kind of a satellite, just 8 kgs of weight. It had actually 70 75 different components. It has 75 payloads. Each payload was weighing around 50 grams. This particular satellite and the payloads were integrated by the students. Is it clear or not? So it was an experimental probe. Now this particular satellite would have measured the radiation, ionizing radiations in the orbit. It had carried a transponder which would have provided the frequency, to the students. They can access it and they can carry some experiments through this. So this Azadi Sat and EOS2, these were the two satellites that were there. Now guys, the question comes, I told you that this particular satellite was to be placed in a circular orbit at a height of 350 kilometers, but rather it got placed in an elliptical orbit. Now why this particular satellite was to be put in a circular orbit? What is the logic behind this? Let's understand it. So guys, see, basically when we talk about the satellites, they are actually placed in circular orbit only in a fixed height. Sometimes the satellites are placed in an elliptical orbit also, but that is for a temporary period. Then they are shifted again to a circular orbit. Now why circular orbit? So there is one particular reason. Guys, see, I told you that this EOS2 satellite, it was a remote sensing satellite. It would have kept an eye on the earth. Now for this particular thing, there are actually, guys, for imaging of the earth, there are the cameras on this particular satellite which would kept an eye on the earth. Now guys, these cameras are focused at a particular angle. Now if the satellite is in a circular orbit, you don't need to change the focus of this particular camera. Okay, why? Because the distance from the earth will always be same when it is at a circular orbit. But guys, if it would be in elliptical orbit, let's assume, okay, just please focus on this particular picture. So let's assume that this is an elliptical orbit, and in here you have earth, here you have earth. So basically when this particular satellite will come at this particular point, okay, obviously the distance will change. Okay, and when the earth will come at another point, let's say here, so there the distance will be changed. So again and again the camera's focus has to be changed, cameras focus angles, etc. have to be changed. Now this particular thing becomes very much difficult when the satellite is hovering at such a big distance. So therefore the satellites are placed into a circular orbit. So again and again focus is not to be made, so that such adjustments are not to be made. So they are placed in a circular orbit. Okay, now the next question that comes is that what could have happened in this particular case, that this particular the failure happened, why this particular glitch came. Okay, so guys, let's understand that why this particular glitch came. Now when we launch a particular rocket, which is carrying a satellite, so basically guys, rocket, it is nothing but a vehicle which will place a particular satellite in an orbit, and then that particular satellite entering into an orbit, it will start to revolve around the earth. Now when a particular rocket is launched, there could be the situation that let's say the rocket was meant to go in this particular way, but there could be some kind of problems into the course of the rocket. It might get deviated from the way. Now guys, as the satellite technology, the rocket technologies has evolved to such a level that if there is some kind of a problem, it can recorrect its positions. There are the sensors, and the sensors will again bring the rocket to its original trajectory. Is it clear or not? So there, into the planned course, there are the sensors which provide the feedback of the information, and it triggers the course correction if there is any kind of a problem, and the trajectory could be restored. But guys, what happened in this particular case, there was a particular sensor. Moreover guys, there is not only one sensor, there are the multiple sensors. Let's say that one of a sensor is malfunctioning, it is sending some wrong information, then this particular redundancy can also be taken in account. The other sensors, through their information, can check that the other sensor is providing the correct information or not. So basically it has been said that there is also a built-in redundancy. Built-in redundancy means that if there is some sensor working wrong, then the other sensors can correct that particular thing. So this was something. Now guys, what happened in this particular case? In this particular case, number one, the sensor which was responsible for the correction, it got failed, and then the ISRO had released its own statement. And what ISRO says, let's read that. ISRO states that there was a failure of a logic to identify a sensor failure and go for a salvage action caused for the deviation. So what it means? It means that the sensor had failed, and at that point of a time even the ISRO failed to have a logic that if the sensor will fail, how we will be taking care of that particular thing. So some additional sensors, the redundancy factor would have to be installed, but that particular thing was not taken care of. Simply, in very simple languages, what it means, that the rocket was going on its path, there was a kind of a deviation that happened into the path of rocket, there was a sensor failure, and when this particular sensor got failed, there were no proper backup sensors to understand this particular thing, and in this particular thing, what happened, the satellite got placed into a wrong orbit. What type of an orbit? I already told you that it got placed into an elliptical orbit, not in a circular orbit. Now guys, I also told you that this particular satellite was to be placed at a height of 350 kilometer, but it got placed at a height of a 76 kilometer. Now what will be the problem because of this particular factor? So guys, at 76 kilometers there will be the drag of atmosphere. Now because of that particular drag of atmosphere, the functioning of the satellite will be impacted. Moreover, this particular satellite will also be in a range of the there will be also be the gravitational pull from the earth, and in that particular case, that particular satellite might fall back on the earth and will be burned through the friction. In any case, the satellite has been lost. Now this is something that has happened. Moreover guys, one more kind of a question could be asked, that why we did not use this PSLV, that is the Polar Satellite Launch Vehicle, or the GSLV, that is the Geosynchronous Satellite Launch Vehicle, because they have been the workhorses of the ISRO. Fine, they have been very much successful into the past and their track record has been very much good. So why they were not used? So I told you that these are very powerful and they usually carry the huge payloads. So for such I told you that guys, these the EOS-2 as well as the Azadi Sat, these two satellites were very small satellites. One was just 8 kgs and other was just around 135 kgs. So for them, using the PSLV and GSLV doesn't make any sense. Moreover, the orbit that it was to be placed, it was of a low Earth orbit, just at 350 kilometers. Moreover guys, when we talk about the type of fuels, the SSLV is a simple kind of a rocket engine. For example, the SSLV, find all the three stages of the SSLV, they are powered by the solid fuel. Now guys, managing a solid fuel, it is easy. However, when we talk about the PSLV and GSLV, they use the liquid propellants, and the liquid propellants, managing them at such a height is very much difficult. So because of the simplicity and because of the smaller magnitude of the operation, the SSLV vehicle was launched. However, there has been a problem in this particular thing. So guys, basically it is being provided that we should not be disheartened by this particular thing, rather we need to take the valuable lessons out of it, and by that particular valuable lessons we need to move forward. Fine, so this is the entire issue. Now I will just recap guys, because you should be understanding it in a very crisp manner. So we have addressed some of the questions. Number one, the SSLV vehicle which got failed, we have understood this particular thing. Secondly, we have understood that what types of satellites were being taken up. So I have told you 2 satellites were there. Third, we have seen that what actually kind of a problem happened. I told you that it got placed in an elliptical orbit, but it has to be placed in a circular orbit, and even at a height of 350 kilometers it was to be placed. Then guys, fourthly, we have seen that why this is a problem, why it is a problem. Then fifthly, we have also seen that why the GSLV and PSLV were not being used. Okay, and guys, with respect to the prelims examination, one additional detail. So this particular satellite got launched from the Satish Dhawan Space Center, okay, at Sriharikota. So here you can see that it is near the Pulicat Lake. So this is the Pulicat Lake, and here the Satish Dhawan Space Center at Sriharikota is there. Now it is located in Andhra Pradesh. Fine. So this is about it guys. I hope that you have understood it. Now in this particular line, any article coming into the newspaper, you don't need to see it. This is the entire issue right from the scratch up till all the questions that could be there. These are that. Fine. So moving to the next article now. Chhattisgarh implements the PISA rules. Okay, Chhattisgarh implements the PISA rules. So let's see this particular article. Before that, this article will be important for GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, grassroots democracy. Fine. So let's understand this particular article now. So basically guys, when we talk about the grassroots democracy has been promised by the 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act that came in 1992. So what happened? By the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, the Panchayati Raj institutions were established in India. And by the 71st Constitutional Amendment Act, urban local bodies were established. Today we will be talking about this 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act and the Panchayati Raj institutions. So guys, with this, the PRIs got created in the entire country, but at that point of a time the panchayats in 1992 did not came in the scheduled areas into the tribal areas. Why it did not came there? Because of the provision of the constitution, article 243M. So article 243M provided that the application to the scheduled areas, tribal areas will not be made immediately. Is it clear? So the story started and the entire India got the panchayats in 1992. But guys, at that point of a time, it was realized that actually tribal areas are also the autonomous areas. They are to be given a power for governing their own affairs. Moreover guys, before the arrival of the Britishers, the tribals, they have their own autonomous institutions for governance. But these autonomous institutions for governance were taken over after the coming by the Britishers. So therefore, it was said that okay, let's extend the panchayats even to the tribal areas. And in this particular direction, one committee was also constituted, the Bhuria Committee. This Bhuria Committee gave its recommendations in 1995 and said that we need to come out with a different law which will make the Panchayati Raj institutions applicable into the scheduled and the tribal areas. And therefore, one particular legislation came on to the basis of the recommendation of the Bhuria Committee, that was the PISA Act of 1996. Now, what was this PISA Act? So guys, the PISA, it stands for, just a minute, the PISA, it stands for the Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act 1996. So Panchayat Extension to Scheduled Areas Act 1996. Now this particular act recognized the role of the Gram Sabhas. It gave a lot of power in the Gram Sabhas. Fine. It provided that the Gram Sabha will be the primary institution for deciding on to the matters concerning the tribal people. It provided that the state legislature has an advisory role in suggesting the Gram Sabha. Gram Sabha was given the power to determine their affairs, to determine their matters. In this particular direction guys, what were the powers that were given to the Gram Sabha? I'll tell you, and then you will be able to understand this PISA even more clearly. So Gram Sabha was given a power that its consultation has to be taken mandatorily for the case of the land acquisition. Let's say a mining project is to be installed into the Chhattisgarh or into the Jharkhand where a lot of tribal people are living. Now whether the land can be given for this mining project or not, for that the basically approval of a Gram Sabha is mandatory. Who provided it? PISA Act provided it. Fine. It provided that the Gram Sabha has a power to decide on to the resettlement and rehabilitation of the displaced person. So if some person's land got acquired and he got displaced, so they will determine. Third, protection of traditional beliefs, culture and tribal communities. So guys, we know that their culture, their religions are different from the mainstream cultures, mainstream religions. So they have a power that they can protect their cultures, traditions. Then they were given the ownership over the minor forest produce, resolution of the local disputes, petty disputes they can solve at their own, prevention of the land alienation. Their land cannot be taken for some another purpose without their consultation, without their approval, management of village markets, any other rights of the scheduled tribes. On this particular thing, the Gram Sabha will be consulted, Gram Sabha will be deciding. Now guys, when we talk about the tribal people, for the tribal people, the PISA Act is important one, which we are discussing right now. And apart from the PISA, there is one more act, that is the Forest Rights Act of 2006. So this act is also important. The Forest Right Act recognized the land titles. Okay, so the tribals who are living into the forest, they were given land titles. So land rights were given, joint community rights were given to them. Okay, so this is also one more legislature. Right now we are not discussing about the FRA, but you need to keep it in mind that two, PISA and FRA in conjunction had recognized a lot of tribal rights in India. Okay, so this PISA Act came in existence. But guys, actually the problem was this, that there was the states which have to actually bring the implementing rules, and only on to the basis of the state government's implementing rule, this PISA Act would have actually been made applicable. So what has happened since 1996? We are right now in 2022. Okay, we have seen that so many years, fine, precisely you can see that 26 years have been passed, but up till now many of the state governments have not passed the PISA rules, so that the PISA Act actually is not implementable into these states. Now in this particular direction, the Chhattisgarh's case study or Chhattisgarh's example has come. So guys, Chhattisgarh has done a very good work. What Chhattisgarh has done in this particular direction, Chhattisgarh had actually set the rules, okay, where the PISA have been implemented and the significant power has been also been given. Now when we talk about the Chhattisgarh, guys, 33% population of the Chhattisgarh is consisting of the tribal people. Now according to these new rules, 50% of the members of the Gram Sabha, so wherever the village is there, okay, wherever the scheduled area is there, into this scheduled into the Gram Sabha, 50% members needs to be from the tribal communities, and 25% of this 50% needs to be female. Is it clear or not? Now guys, understand, let's say that there is a scheduled area, there might be other people also that could be living, scheduled caste could be living, other general population could be living, OBCs could be living. So it has been said that into the scheduled areas, Gram Sabhas, there 50% of the members need to be the tribals, and into this 50%, 25% need to be the women. So, and therefore moreover other corresponding rules have also been notified. So this is guys all about it, and the PISA Act. So therefore guys, a very important topic with respect to the GS2 grassroots democracy, as I have told you, even in the prelims on the PISA Act the question could be asked. It is an important topic. So I hope that you have understood it, and now we'll move to the next article. Now this is a good article. We have taken it from the text and the context page. Can women be true representatives of the people? Can women be true representatives of the people? Find this particular article. We'll see with respect to GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, social justice. Within the social justice, women related issues. And guys, when we talk about the women related issues, the political representation of women, fine, we will under that particular heading we will see it, political representation of women. Now before going in this particular article, I would like to tell you some of a background first. The background. So guys, the background goes like this, that when we talk about the women have been given the right to vote from the very start of the Indian Constitution. Women have been given equality in terms of political participation. Fine, even there is the article number 326 of the Indian Constitution, which has specifically provided that in creation of the electoral roll there cannot be any kind of a discrimination. So women have been given equal voting rights. Now guys, India is actually very much progressive in this particular direction. If I give you some data, this data is very much important. So guys, right now into the Lok Sabha, the representation of women is around 14.4%. 14.4% representation of women is there into the Lok Sabha. Fine, which is not very much good, because given the size of the women population, they stand around 48 to 49% of the population, but their representation is 14.4%, not very much good. But guys, actually this is the best since the independence. So in 2019 election, 78 women MPs got elected into the Lok Sabha, and 14.4% MPs we have from the women, which is the highest since the independence. Guys, when we talk about the women's representation in Panchayati Raj institutions, it is even more better. In the Panchayati Raj institutions, we see that actually around 45% of the members of the Panchayat, they are the women. So in Panchayats, it is even more better. But we also know that into the Panchayats, there is the concept of the Pradhan Pati. Under this Pradhan Pati concept, what happens actually, the male are the ones who are making the decisions in this particular direction. 2 days back, I have also shown you a case study of Madhya Pradesh, where basically the male, fine, the Sarpanch Patis or the Pradhan Patis, they have taken the oath also. Okay, so women's representation, it is improving, fine, right now for 14%. Now guys, a question comes that whether the women, when they go into the parliament, they are asking the relevant questions or not. In this particular capacity, guys, this article has given a reference of one particular report where this entire matter has been investigated. So what is the report? The report is Performance of Women in Parliament, a quantitative study of questions by women members in Lok Sabha from 1919 to 2019. Now you don't need to remember this entire name. Simply you can quote the Performance of Women in Parliament study. performance of women in parliament study. Now guys, often it has been said that when women come into the parliament, they don't raise important questions. There is a word that have been used for the political representation of the women in the parliament: silent dolls, or the gungi gudiyas. Okay, even guys, when the Indira Gandhi came to the power, when Indira Gandhi became the legislator, even Indira Gandhi was called as gungi gudiya, and the women legislators, they are called as these gungi gudiyas. It has been said that they don't raise important questions during the question hour into the parliament. Even if they have raised the questions are very much generic kind of questions pertaining to the women's safety and all these particular kind of things. Now guys, it has also been said that they just do the token representations into the political sphere, just a small tokenistic questions they are asking, not big questions. Now basically, this particular study, performance of women in parliament, has analyzed the types of questions that have been asked into the women. Now guys, it has been provided that first of all, there is improvement that is happening, because now 78 women got elected into the parliament already. I have told you, they have said that actually men asked more questions and they participated in more debates. The men asked more questions, they participated in more debates, but now the number of questions that are being asked by the women, they are also increasing, and they are not asking only the questions onto the feminine issues, rather they are asking the question on important things, for example, health, family welfare, human resource development, home affairs, finance, agriculture, railways. Okay, so these things are also on which the women are asking the questions, and not only the women centric issues such as women's safety, rape, etc. Okay, so they are asking the big ticket questions. So it shows that the women, their political representation is actually coming on the ground. So the representation is not only the tokenistic representation, rather their representation is a substantial and even important questions are being asked. Now guys, one very important question has been given here. A concept has been given here. I would like to specifically tell about this thing, that is the intersectionality of identity concept. Intersectionality of identity. Now before going in this particular thing guys, you need to first of all understand that what do we mean by this intersectionality of identity. Now basically guys, a particular group should not be considered as a homogeneous group. There are the intersectionality of identity, and because of that intersectionality of identity, the problems of a particular group will be enhanced, they will be increased. Okay, I know that it might not have made much of a sense. Now I will explain this particular thing with the help of an example. Now guys, suppose this particular group is the group of women. Group is the group of women. What we do, we consider that all the women are same. All the women are same, they have same kind of a problem, they have same kind of exploitation. But no, the women are not same. There is the intersectionality of the different identities that will come in between, and it will make the women more vulnerable. The different women will be differently vulnerable. I'll tell you. Suppose there is a woman belonging to the general community. Now this particular woman will be exploited just because of her gender. Now let's say a second woman come, she is a woman, and then this woman belongs to the Dalit community. Now this particular women's exploitation will be more than the general category women. Why? Because here two factors have come. Number one factor is a gender, which was common, and the second factor that has come is her caste, that is the Dalit community from which she is belonging. So what has happened, when the different identities come together, they basically change the situation of a particular group. Let's take one more example. So let's say there is a third woman. This woman belong to the Dalit community. At the same time, this woman is also let's say also is a disabled, and this particular woman also belongs to the homosexual community. She is, let's say, a lesbian woman. Now this particular women's exploitation will be more than even the other two categories. Why? Because she will be exploited, number one, because of gender, second, because of her economic status, third, because of her disability, fourth, because of her sexual orientation. Okay, so basically one particular group, it is not same. Basically this is the concept of intersectionality. So when different types of identities intersection with each other, their exploitation, their situations, their conditions, they change. Fine. So guys, see, you don't just need to see the dictionary meaning, rather you need to understand a sociological, political concept behind particular things. So here it has been said that intersectionality of the identity becomes an important factor. Now guys, tell me, if the women are asking the questions, will all the women be asking the questions? No. Here it has been provided that the members of the marginal states, the women who are coming from the poor states, marginal states, moreover the women who are coming from the low caste, etc., they have asked less number of questions. So it has been said that the members from marginal states, irrespective of the gender, they asked fewer questions. But the women who are coming from strong parties, big ruling party, for example, the women coming from the BJP, they have asked more question, even if they were into the power, if they were in the opposition, etc. Moreover, whenever we talk about the women, particularly women, because of their education, because of their caste, because of their economic status, also feel little bit, sometimes they are not very much emboldened to ask the questions. So it has been provided that the party affiliations, if you belong to a strong party, your education, your regional background, your ethnicity, your caste, the age of the women, they played an important role in determining whether they will ask a question or not. And even if they will ask the question, what is the content of their question? Some big questions, okay, the questions which challenge the government, they can ask by those women who are more confident, okay. And in that confidence, from where it comes from the factors which is such as the regional background, ethnicity, caste, etc. So this intersectionality concept is very much powerful. Now guys, here we can see that there is a positive sign towards the gender inclusivity. The political parties now, they are focusing on women also, they are giving them tickets also, but the change is still much more, still we need to go, the leap that we need to make, it needs to be little bit more big. More changes are needed. The direction is positive, but the speed of change is not positive. Speed needs to be more. Then moving to the next article. Fair trial goes beyond courts to the police and media. So this is the editorial article. This particular article, guys, will see with respect to the GS paper number 2 as well as GS paper number 3. Fine. The issues related with respect to the policing in India. So the issues of policing issues, as well as GS paper number, I mentioned 3. It will be GS 4. In GS paper number 4. So ethics of policing, ethics of media. We'll see this particular article. Now, before going in this particular article, guys, I will tell you one particular thing. There is one particular phrase that we use. Fine. So a little bit beyond the scope of this article, we'll discuss. So we say that the media today has become the judge. Media has become the judge, the jury, and the executioner. So why the media has become the judge, the jury, the executioner? It is because of one particular reason, that is the media trial. Now, understand this particular thing, that what happens whenever a particular case is going on to the courts, the way the media will report that particular case, it will form the perception of the people. It will create a particular kind of a narrative, and that particular narrative will determine actually the outcome even of that particular trial. Guys, what happened? I want to give you one particular example, that after the death of a Bollywood actor 2 years back, fine, there was a media trial of a female a Bollywood celebrity that was carried, and in that particular case, what happened, the media, even before the judiciary came out with their verdict, media declared the verdict. They told who is guilty, what has happened behind the curtains, even without investigative agency submitting their particular report. That was an example of the media trial that happened. Now these media trials are not fair. These media trials impact the society, how they will see the justice. Moreover, sometimes it also even impact the perception of the judges also, because guys, you need to understand that even the members of the judiciary, they also live actively into the society. Now guys, in this particular thing, there is one important linchpin whose role we are going to discuss. So basically, the role of media into the trial is very much important. But here, recently, the Chief Justice of India has provided that the media in India is not accountable for the coverage of the legal issues, sensitive issues. They are reporting the sensitive and legal issues without any sense of responsibility. Just for the TRP, just for the sensationalism, the media is reporting the legal and the sensitive cases, which is very much irresponsible. And in this, the police plays a very important role. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that whatever is happening into the court proceeding, how media gets to know about that particular thing, they get to know that particular thing by the police. So it has been said that when we talk about the role of a police was meant to be an independent agency. It was meant that it will promote the truth. But what happens, police, whatever their narrative is, the police is basically communicating the narrative to the media, and sometimes the police's narrative, it is basically shaped because of some political goals. Sometimes basically guys, there is one particular value I would like to tell you, the value of non-partisanship. the value of non-partisanship. Now this particular value is even mentioned in our GS paper number 4, topic of aptitude and the foundational values. Non-partisanship means that the police, the bureaucracy, the public servants, they need not to be inclined towards any political party, towards any political ideology. But this value of non-partisanship is actually missing in the civil servants, even it is missing into the polices. What happens? The police sometimes they are inclined towards a political party, towards a political leader, and in that particular line, to achieve a political goal, they tell a particular narrative to media, and that media then shows that particular narrative to the public. Okay, so this is something that has happened recently. Even the Delhi police have admitted this particular case, that they let's see that what happened. They informed the outcome of the alt news co-founders bail hearing, okay, even before the judicial order was pronounced. So even before the judicial order was pronounced, they told the media that okay, what is happening into the court. So this is something which is wrong. Okay, then guys, next it has been provided that when we talk about the police is a crucial source of media and communication. So from the institution of judiciary to the public, in between media comes, and who tells the media? The police tells them, and then the media trials happens. Fine, I told you that in media trial what happens, the media becomes the judge, they determine who is guilty, they become the jury, they becomes the executioner. Even the punishment, what should be the punishment, they also tell them. Now the reportage of this particular nature, it violates the presumption of innocence. Now guys, in the India we follow innocent until proved guilty. So presumption of innocence is being given, but when media is outrightly charging a person for a particular crime, this presumption of innocence is violated. Moreover, the person's dignity, privacy, and a person's reputation is also get impacted. Just case in point is the media reportage after the death of a Bollywood celebrity 2 years back. Fine guys, understand this particular thing. I'm not specifically taking any names here. Why? Because you being a civil services aspirant not need to use any names. Fine. Now moving on in this particular direction, moreover guys, when the media is carrying the reportage without the media ethics, it leads to the social ostracization of the people who are into the trial. Even let's say if the judiciary will call them that they are not guilty, they are innocent, but the society has accepted them as guilty. Fine. Now guys, understand this particular thing. I would like to tell you one very important concept here with the point of view of ethics, that how media trials are actually problematic. Now let's say that there is a particular case that is going on, and the media trials. What happens? The media has declared that this particular person is guilty, Now the case is going on. Court has not decided whether the person is guilty or not, but the media has declared a person is guilty. This is an example of media trial. Now how it is problematic? When the final verdict will come, there could be two possibilities. A possibility, now we say that the verdict is completely fair, it is completely objective. Fine, all the principles of natural justice has been followed. The verdict could be A. First, the person is actually proved guilty. It is actually proved guilty by the judges also. Now if this particular thing has happened, it will be seen that the judges actually got inspired by the media reportage. They have not taken the fair and objective decision. Many of the intellectuals will think this particular thing, and it will reduce the credibility of the judiciary. Second situation can happen. What will happen? Let's say that the court says that the person is not guilty. Media said that the person is guilty, but the court says that the person is not guilty. In this particular thing, what will happen? The people who have already formed their opinion on to the basis of the media reportage, they will think that the court is biased, that the court has given a wrong ruling. Then that set of people will get angry, they will get frustrated from the media, from the court, and all this particular thing will reduce the credibility of the judiciary in India. So even if the court's ruling goes in line with the media, there is a problem. Even if it goes against the media, there is a problem. Okay, so therefore the media trials are wrong, and they are happening because of the police is providing them the sensitive information without proper thinking. Moreover guys, the court have also given a one particular important judgment, that is the Romila Thapar versus Union of India case. In this particular case, it has provided that the law enforcement authorities such as the police should not reveal the details of an investigation of a case that is going on. The personal details should not be told by the policing. But guys, still what is happening? There are no law. Now guys, you need to know this particular thing, that actually the state is a police, the police is a state subject. police is a state subject. States need to make the laws, they need to make the rule. Up till now, the states have not made any specific rules where they prohibit the police officers in sharing such kind of an information. There is a good example of Kerala, but other states have not done this thing. Moreover, guys, the Ministry of Home Affairs also issued a office memorandum which outlined the media policy over a decade ago. It said that the police should not share this information, but again I told you that the police is contained into the state list and the states have not come out with such kind of a thing. So therefore, guys, here the role of a police comes, but at the same time media ethics also plays an important role. Media, even if they are getting the information, they need to understand that they need not to promote only the police narrative, they need to go for the investigative journalism. They need to verify the facts, and only after verification of the fact they need to put the particular information in a public domain. So this is something that has happened. Moreover, guys, it has been seen that the most of the police departments, they don't have the dedicated media cells, they don't have the officials who will be briefing the media, and in that capacity virtually every police officer, he is free, he can go and can give the statement, but sometimes the police officers, they don't have the sensitivity that what type of information is to be given and what type of information is not to be given. So this is something that has happened. So today, guys, what is the need of our is that we need to have the stronger regulation of communication channel between the law enforcement and the media. The police officers who are giving the information, there need to be a strict standard operating procedure rules as what is to be told, what is not to be told. Secondly, it has been provided that, see, today in India, now guys, understand, as per the article number 19, as per the spirit of article number 19, freedom of speech and expression has been carried, and under this freedom of speech and expression, the free media and free press has also been envisaged. So guys, actually, if you regulate the media too much, it will be said that it is a violation of article number 19. However, if you don't regulate the media will go and will carry the media trials and all such kind of things. So therefore, what we have done in between, we have brought the self-regulation of media. But guys, this self-regulation has not been very much effective. So basically, there are certain bodies which regulate the conduct of the media. For example, there is the National Broadcasting Standard Authority, NBSA, National Broadcasting Standard Authority. There is the Indian Broadcasting Foundation, IBF. But these organizations are the membership based organizations. Let's say I am a news channel. If I am a member of them, I need to follow. If I don't want to follow, I can leave the membership also. So they are not very much effective. So even, guys, the regulation of media is not very much effective. So therefore, what is the role? Role is of media ethics, media morality that is needed in India. So therefore, now there is an increasing need for the media regulation, but we need to do that particular thing in such a way that their fundamental right of free speech, free press is not being violated. Okay, guys, understand this particular thing. I would like to give you a very powerful quote of ethics. Please listen very carefully. See, basically, simply, देखिए, what you have a right to do is not actually right to do. This is what can be made realized only by ethics. Now there was a thinker, he has said that what actually the ethics is all about. Ethics is knowing the difference. Ethics is knowing the difference as between what you have right to do, and what is actually right to do. Okay, please listen this thing very carefully again. Ethics tells you the difference. That what you have right to do and what is actually right to do. So media, they have a right that they can broadcast whatever they want, but is it really right to broadcast whatever they know? No. So this difference will be told between ethics. So therefore, what we need to have the strong media ethics. We need to have the strong media morality in India. So this is all about this article. Now we'll move to the next article on guardianship and adoption of minors. So this article we have taken from the text and the context section, and guys, this particular article we will see with respect to the GS paper number 2, the issues related to the women as well as the issues related to the children. Within the children, adoption related issues, we'll see this particular thing. Moreover, guys, even in GS paper number 2, the issues of the LGBT community will also be seen in this particular article. So this article is very important for the social justice GS paper number 2. Clear? Let's take this particular article. So guys, before going in this particular article, I would like to tell you some of the basic concepts, because if we don't know them, then understanding this particular article will become a little bit difficult. There are two concepts. One is guardianship, okay, and other is custody. Now, what is guardianship and custody? Many a time we understand them as same, but no, they are not same. Guardianship means that who is the person who will decide the basically who is the person who has the power in case of a minor. Let's say that there is a minor child. Let's say there is a child. His age is of 12 years. Now if he is a 12-year-old, obviously he is a minor. Let's say there is some property in the name of this particular 12-year-old kid. Who will take that decision, the legal decisions with respect to that particular property and all those things? The decision will be taken by a guardian. Okay, then the second is custody. Now custodian is a person who is physically keeping that particular child. Okay, so custodian is a one who will physically keep that particular child with him or her, and the guardian is a one who will decide onto the legal matters on the behalf of a minor. Fine. Now basically guys, in India there is one particular problem. There is a kind of a patriarchy that is reflected. Actually there is one particular law. The law is Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act, Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act 1956, HMGA. Again I'll repeat, Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act 1956. Under this particular act, we see that there is a kind of a sexual undertone. Basically, what do I mean by sexual undertone? Is mean that somewhere the male has been given more preference. Now the case is that when the guardianship of a child is to be considered, the male has been considered as the primary guardian of the child. The father has been considered as the primary guardian of a child. But when the custody of a child is concerned, let's say a child is minor, then the custody particularly belongs to the women. Custody belongs to the women. Now guys, why? Because here we can see that the gender roles have been imposed. What is a gender role? Into the gender role, we see that the men are the decision makers, and because the men are the decision maker, the guardians are majorly assumed to be the men. But when we talk about the child care, there the women are assumed to be the important ones, and the custody is a matter of women. Now after this particular thing, now we will go into this particular article what has come here. So this particular background is actually very much important, and if you have it, then you can understand this article what it is talking about. Now see, so we have seen that now the monsoon session has been concluded. So the parliament was meeting. So a parliamentary panel has recommended that we need to confer the equal rights. We need to confer the equal rights on mothers as guardians. Fine, I told you that the guardianship is more in favor of the male fathers. They are believed to be the primary guardians, but now they say that we need to recommend this HMGA Act, that is the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act, and the mothers need to be made as an equal guardians. Moreover guys, it has been I told you that what happened, the mothers, they are treated as subordinate to the fathers, to the male, to the husband. Moreover, this particular committee has also recommended some another thing. So first is that the females, the mothers, they are to be made as an equal guardians. Second thing that they has suggested is the joint custody of the children during marital disputes. So guys, I told you that when the custody is concerned, custody majorly is believed that should go to the mother, but no, not the single parent custody, rather the joint custody of a child needs to be given. Then the third thing is that allowing the LGBT community, lesbians, gay, bisexuals, transgender community, queer community to adopt the children. So all these three things we are going to see here in this particular article. So they say that there is a need to amend the HMGA and both the mother and the father needs to be made as a natural guardians. It is actually violating article number 14 and article 15 of the Indian Constitution, which talks about the right to equality. Even guys, in this particular direction, a Supreme Court judgment is also there. What is the judgment? The judgment is of Geeta Hariharan versus Reserve Bank of India. In this Geeta Hariharan versus Reserve Bank of India judgment, Supreme Court has provided that the HMGA, that is the Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act, it violates the article number 14 of the Indian Constitution, that is the right to equality. But in this particular judgment, the Supreme Court failed to recognize both the mother and the father as the equal guardians. Moreover, any amendment has also not come onto the basis of this Geeta Hariharan judgment. Even guys, the Law Commission has recommended that the equal guardianship is to be provided. So Law Commission in its 257th report, which was titled Reform in the Guardianship and Custody Laws in India, this report came in 2015. It also provided that we need to amend the guardianship laws in India. Clear? Moreover, guys, now this particular parliamentary committee has also recommended that the joint custody of both parents on a child is also to be considered. Now see, whenever a custody, let's say that the husband and a wife are going for a divorce, so who will get the custody of child? Primarily women are believed that they should get a custody of a child. In India, we don't have provision of joint custody, but sometimes the child needs both the father and the mother for the overall development. So the joint custody is also being suggested by this parliamentary panel. Fine. So number one, joint guardianship. The guardianship, equal guardianship both of men and women. Second is the joint custody. I hope that you have understood the difference between the custody and guardianship as we have discussed in the start of the article. So that is the reason that understanding it is very important. Then the third issue that has been mentioned by this parliamentary standing committee is to bring the suitable changes in the adoption regulation of 2017. Now guys, when we talk about the adoption right now in India, basically, what are the adoption rules? Adoption rules are simple. Basically, the parents who want to adopt, they are called as PAP, that is the prospective adoptive parents. Now, the husband and the wife who have a stable marriage, they can adopt. After that, the single mothers can adopt. Then thirdly, the single fathers, okay, or the single male can adopt. Male can adopt. Now, single female, just a minute. So the couple who have been married in a stable marriage, they can adopt. Then the single female can adopt and the single male can adopt. Now what about the LGBT community? What about the lesbians? What about the gays? What about the bisexuals? What about the transgenders? Can they adopt or not? Now in this particular thing, our adoption regulations of 2017 are silent. Now what I tell you what actually happens onto the ground. Whenever a particular couple or a particular female or male are going to adopt a child, then there is actually a kind of a home study that is carried. In this particular home study, basically before giving a child for an adoption, it is to be certified that the person who is adopting a child, the parent, they are physically, mentally, emotionally and financially stable as well as capable. They should not have any life-threatening medical condition. Only if this particular condition is fulfilled, then the child is given for the adoption. Now guys, when the LGBT communities are there, these LGBT communities are actually discriminated onto the ground. It is said that the emotional needs of a child cannot be fulfilled by the lesbians, by the gays, okay, and by this particular thing they are actually discriminated. So therefore, activists, they say that there is an institutional discrimination which is going on. Legally there is no discrimination, but there is an institutional discrimination because of the stigma that is attached. So therefore it is being said that we need to change these adoption regulations 2017. We need to change this adoption regulation 2017 and specifically provide for this particular thing that there should not be any institutional discrimination for the LGBTs when they want to adopt. And moreover guys, for this particular thing I also want to tell you one more. There was a NALSA judgment of 2014 that came, and in this NALSA judgment of 2014, Supreme Court very clearly provided that there cannot be any discrimination from the LGBT communities in any matter of life, but in adoption there is institutional discrimination. So this is also the violation of a NALSA judgment of 2014. So therefore we needed to bring such kind of a suitable change here. That is all about this particular article guys, and now we'll move to the next article. Rankings that make no sense. So this article will be seeing with respect to the GS paper number 2. GS paper number 2, issues related to the education, particularly within the education, the higher education institutions. So we'll see this particular article. Now basically guys, before going on this, I would like to give you some background. So this article is talking about the NIRF. NIRF stands for National Institution Ranking Framework. National Institutional Ranking Framework. So this NIRF ranking, it was basically released in 2015 by the Ministry of Human Resource Development. By the way, now the Ministry of Human Resource Development has been renamed as Ministry of Education. So NIRF, it is a ranking framework to rank the higher educational institutions. It came in 2015. Now see, when we talk about the NIRF, in the NIRF, what we simply do, we rank the higher educational institution in the different categories. Now why we rank them? We rank them in order to inculcate the spirit of a competitive competitiveness. Now see, when there is a positive competition, it induces the different parties that they need to outperform each other. Now if we will rank the higher educational institutions on a particular ranking, it will motivate both the high performers as well as low performers. Why? Because the high performers, they want to retain their top ranking, and the low performers, they need to get a top ranking if they want to attract more students, if they want to increase the credibility of their courses, if they want to increase the credibility of an institution as a whole. So low performing institutions, they get motivated to perform better. High performing, they are also motivated so that they should retain their top ranking. So into the NIRF, higher educational institutions are ranked. Now first of all, when we talk about the NIRF ranking, in the NIRF ranking, the institution's rank is decided onto the basis of the 5 parameters. Okay, so all these 5 parameters have been given some weightage, and on that particular basis an institution's ranking is determined. First is teaching, learning and resources. Teaching, learning and resources. Okay, so basically in terms of resources, what kind of research and development facilities are there, whether they have functional labs or not, whether the teaching is effective or not, whether that fine, all these particular things, the teacher pupil ratio, all these things are taken here. Then the research and professional practice, is it clear or not? So what is the avenues for professional practice? Okay, what is the expenditure that is being done onto the research development? Then the graduation outcomes. Graduation outcomes means once you have got graduated, whether you are employable or not, what you actually learned after 4 years of engineering, etc. So what are the outcomes? Then outreach and inclusivity. Outreach and inclusivity means that how many different sections of the societies are being accommodated into the education, whether the women are there into the educational institutions or not, minority are there or not, and all these things are actually taken. And then the fifth is a perception. Perception. Now what perception means? Perception means that what people think about an institution, what is the reputation of an institution. Now these are the 5 parameters on which the institutions are ranked. Now guys, recently what has happened, the NIRF ranking was released. NIRF ranking was released, 2022 ranking. Here we can see that the Indian Institute of Science, IISc Bangalore, has got the first rank. Okay, now basically guys, first of all, when we talk about the NIRF has been brought as a counter to the QS World Ranking. Now you might have heard about the QS World Ranking. So guys, the QS World Ranking ranks the institutions of the world. However, whenever the QS rankings are released, Indian institutions are not ranking very much good. So recently guys, when the QS World Ranking of 2023 was announced, we have seen this particular thing, that only 3 institutions of India, they have come into the top 200. Okay, so into the QS ranking of 2023, only 3 institutions have come in top 200. So our ranking is not very much good in this particular capacity. Fine. Now guys, therefore why, first of all, you need to ask a question that the ranking of India is not very much good. There is a reason that actually into the QS also the perception has been there, but perception is given a lot more weightage into the QS ranking. Perception is given a lot more weightage into the QS ranking, but in India, when we talk about the perception, it is given a very less kind of a weightage. Now NIRF ranking of 2022, I told you it has been announced. Now guys, when we talk about the NIRF ranking, in the NIRF ranking there are the different categories. For example, there is a category of university ranking. Then there is a category of technical institutions, there is a category of management institutions, there is an overall category. In overall category, all the institutions, they will be ranked. Now guys, when we talk about the university category into the NIRF 2022, the Indian Institute of Science Bangalore has got the first rank. However, when we talk about the overall category, where all the colleges, universities, everybody will come there, the first rank has been availed by the IIT Madras. In the overall category, IIT Madras is at first rank. In university category, IISc Bangalore is at first rank. Now you don't need to go and see all this particular thing. Into the college category, Miranda House of New Delhi got the first rank. However, you don't need to go into all these particular ranking. Now this article is talking about the criticism of the NIRF, the shortfalls into the NIRF. What it says? It says that when we talk about the higher educational institutions, fine, there are certain inconsistencies, there are certain flaws, there are certain contradictions. Now what are these contradictions? Let's see. they have said that actually NIRF places some private multidisciplinary institutions higher than many of the prestigious national law universities as well as the law departments. Now you know this particular thing, that actually who are going into the private universities, fine, let's say there is a OP Jindal Law University. Now it has been said that sometimes the private universities are given a higher ranking than the NLUs, but we know this particular thing, that the first preference of a student when pursuing the law course, it is a private, it is not a private institution, it is a government institution. Even in the CLAT, even the common law admission test that is there, the first choice is the 10 NLUs, and only when the person is not able to get NLUs, he actually goes to the private institutions. But then why the private university are getting a better rank over the NLUs, it is not very much clear. So it is seen that the private players, they, in order to pursue their interest, there is some kind of a basically the private players, in order to show their in universities at top, they are giving some kind of a kickback. It is something which is being said here in the article, fine. Then next thing, it has been said that there is a absence of a rigorous system of verification also, okay, into the NIRF. It has been said that, for example, faculty student ratio, it is an important criteria for ranking, but some of the institutions, what are doing, they are showing the same faculty in more than one discipline. For example, one teacher, he is in engineering also, that teacher is also in management, that teacher is also in some another course. So one faculty is being shown into the different courses. So by with the same number of faculties, they are able to show the better faculty student ratio. So the first criticism that was said, that why the private institutions are ranked higher, there might be some kind of irregularity. Second, they say that the faculty student ratio are not being properly investigated. Then the third thing that has been said, that research funding, fine, and the consultancy. In this particular thing, whatever the data is being submitted by the university, by an institution, that particular data is being just believed to be true. There is no rigorous checking that whether such kind of a thing is there or not. There is the data fudging, their charges have been made. So these charges are not being seen, are being investigated by the Ministry of Education for deciding the NIRF ranking. So these are some of the criticisms that have been said, okay. However guys, whether these criticisms are really true or not, we don't know that particular thing. So these are just the views of the author, fine, that is all. Now we'll move to the next article. Now this article, it reads, Bangladesh river water deal likely. Bangladesh river water deal likely. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that what is happening here. By the way, this particular article will see with respect to the international cooperation with our neighbors, international cooperation with the neighbors, and Bangladesh is concerned here. So basically guys, when we talk about the rivers, large number of rivers are being shared between the India and Bangladesh, both the major rivers as well as minor rivers. Now when we talk about the river, fine, many rivers are flowing from India to Bangladesh, but these rivers are disputed in terms of water that will be taken by both the India as well as Bangladesh. Recently guys, there was one more issue that happened. Bangladesh was taking a loan of $1 billion from China to develop the infrastructure over the Tista river. Now the Tista river is one which is shared between both the India and Bangladesh. India has a concern with that particular thing. Fine, though onto the Tista water, basically our cooperation with the Bangladesh is going on. But guys, there are many other rivers also on which the disputes have not been settled. For example, there is this Kushiyara River. Now Kushiyara River. So basically the Kushiyara River, okay, this particular river, okay, flows from Assam and it enters into the Bangladesh, okay. And when we talk about the Kushiyara River, okay, so this particular Kushiyara River, now when I talk about you guys, actually Barak River is there. Barak River is there, you might have heard about this. The Barak River separates in two rivers, okay. One becomes the Kushiyara and other becomes the Surma River. So the Kushiyara River that we are discussing, it is a kind of a distributary of the Barak River. Now this Kushiyara River, it enters into the Bangladesh, and the water sharing for this particular Kushiyara River has not been finalized up till now. Now guys, in order to finalize the water sharing agreement for the Kushiyara River, there is the provision of the Joint River Commission. Now what is this Joint River Commission? Joint River Commission will have representatives of the both Bangladesh and India, and they will negotiate the matters relating to the river water sharing. Now guys, this Joint River Commission, it will meet in the last week of August. So this joint river commission will meet in the last week of August, okay, before the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's visit to India. So guys, before the next election of the Bangladesh, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is going to visit, and before that this JRC will meet, and it is being expected that into this particular meet the Kushiyara River agreement will be finalized. Moreover, the agreement onto the Ganga River's water can also get finalized, but whether it will actually be happening or not, we don't know this particular thing up till now, because this will meet in the last week of August, and when it will meet, then we will see that okay, what will happen and what will not happen. So till that time, you don't need to go too much into the detail in this particular article, because the meet will happen and we are expecting that the Kushiyara River will be finalized. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that when we talk about the Bangladesh, with the Bangladesh, our relations are on a different footing. Not only why, number one, because when we talk about the Bangladesh happens to be an immediate neighbor for India, and the Bangladesh also is a very much important for the stability of the Northeast India also, that is concerned. Moreover, the China is showing a lot of interest in Bangladesh. But when the relation with the Bangladesh are concerned, not only the national priorities are there, but the state politics also come in between. West Bengal, it has independently many dispute with the Bangladesh, and when the river water sharing issues are there, the West Bengal politics plays a very important role here. So here now we call it as a para diplomacy, state diplomacy. So one state directly going in, basically having certain issues with another country. For example, West Bengal is having the issues with the West Bengal. So this is a para diplomacy that is also coming in between. So we need to resolve this particular issue with more of a sensitivity. However, when it will happen, we'll see it. Fine, now we'll move to the next article. Now, withdrawal of the data bill was a bad move. Guys, this particular article I have discussed already into the previous week. So we have seen already that what has happened, the personal data protection bill was introduced in the parliament in 2019. Actually, there is a particular for this particular entire issue, there is a kind of a chronology that I will explain you. Step number one, what happened? In 2017, Supreme Court came out with the judgment, that the judgment was the Puttaswamy case judgment. Puttaswamy case. In this Puttaswamy case, Supreme Court recognized that the right to privacy is a fundamental right. So right to privacy was recognized as a fundamental right under the article number 21 of the Indian Constitution. This thing happened. Now, as the privacy was recognized as a fundamental right, the government constituted a committee, that is the B.N. Shri Krishna Committee. Now, what is the task of this B.N. Shri Krishna Committee? This committee was recommend a privacy law in India. Privacy law in India. The B.N. Shri Krishna Committee recommended a draft personal data protection framework. Personal data protection framework. They said that when we talk about the privacy of the individual's data privacy happens to be an important part. Today you are going on internet, you are generating a lot of data. You are going and you are searching something. Now the personal data that you are generating, it is a part of your privacy and it should be safeguarded. This thing was provided into the B.N. Shri Krishna Committee. And on the basis of this B.N. Shri Krishna Committee, we in 2019 came out with the Personal Data Protection Bill. Personal Data Protection Bill. Actually, guys, this B.N. Shri Krishna Committee also recommended a draft bill, but you know that basically a public bill is to be introduced. Public bill means that the government has to bring a bill. So on to the basis of the draft which was suggested by the B.N. Shri Krishna Committee, the government decided the Personal Data Protection Bill of 2019. Now guys, 2022 has been reached. It means that the 3 years have happened since this Personal Data Protection Bill was brought into the parliament. In between this particular bill was referred to a joint parliamentary committee for their recommendations. Now guys, when we talk about this joint parliamentary committee was given 6 deadlines, extensions that they need to submit their final report, but many times they missed their deadline. Okay, so this particular issue is going on. 3 years have happened. This Personal Data Protection Bill did not got passed. In meanwhile, what happened? There were many of the criticisms of this Personal Data Protection Bill that came. What were the criticism? Criticism was this, that actually the public order as a ground was used here. It was said that the enforcement agencies, they can take away the right to they can take the right over the personal data. For example, you have generated some data, you have a right over your data. So there is a concept of data principle. data principal. Who is a data principal? Data principal is a person, it is an organization, or it is an entity to whom the data belongs. So basically Personal Data Protection Bill recognize the rights of the data principal over their own data. But this particular bill also has an exemption. Exemption was this, that onto the basis of public order, if the public order is a ground, the rights of the data principals, they could be violated, they could be diluted. Sometimes your rights over your data will not be recognized for the public order. Now public order is a very ambiguous ground. Virtually anything can come in public order. Public order is a very big, very ambiguous ground. So in this particular thing, the rights of the people over their data will always be compromised. This is something that was provided. Then guys, there were a lot of exemptions that were given to the government, and it provided that actually the people's privacy has been diluted, their right over their data has not been recognized. So this is something that was provided. Okay, moreover guys, this law only deal with the personal data. What about the non-personal data? Non-personal data is one which is not related with any person. For example, the traffic movement data, it is non-personal data. What about that? So for that non-personal data, there was one more committee that was constituted. That was the Krish Shri Krishna committee. Krish Shri Krishna committee recommended that bring a different law for the non-personal data. Okay, all these issues were going on, and 3 years have happened with that the bill did not got passed. The public order, fine, and giving a lot of power to the government was a main issue. In this whole thing, what happened? Government recently had withdrawn this data bill. Government has withdrawn this data bill. Now the author is saying that the withdrawal of the data bill is a bad move. Now guys, understand this particular thing. What is the core issue I want to tell you? Why government has withdrawn? Government had said that there were a lot of controversies in this particular bill that came, and we were not able to finalize it. So government had said that we will again go for the consultation with the stakeholders, and we will come out with a better draft version of the bill, and that particular thing we will negotiate. Now guys, understand this particular thing, that this particular bill has been withdrawn. So therefore there is no need in reading the provisions of this particular bill because it is already dead. Whenever a new bill will come, you need to read that particular bill, and when that particular bill will passed into the act, that is something that you need to read. The bill that has been withdrawn, you don't need to read the provisions. You don't now need to go and see that what were the particular clauses which were under the debate, because that has been removed. So only you need to know this particular background and this particular issue. When this new bill will come, we'll see this thing. Now guys, on this particular line, now on every other day there will be some editorial that will be coming into the different newspapers. Okay, but it will not make any much sense in this particular direction. Okay, for our UPSC point of view, if you have interest, you can read it, but for academic point of view, for your UPSC examination, when the new bill will come, we need to see that more. But this background that I have discussed, the reason for the withdrawal, this is something that you need to see. Okay, so this is guys all about this particular article, and with this we come to an end. Guys, understand this particular thing. I say this in virtually every class, that you need to be wise, you need to be intellectually wise in this particular examination. Simply if a thing has come into the newspaper and if some heavy word has been mentioned, whether it is really important for your examination or not, you need to understand. And for that particular thing, how you can do, you need to have a better command as what type of questions are actually being asked by the UPSC and how to know that thing. Please go and see the previous year questions. So by seeing the previous year questions, you will know the spectrum. Okay, moreover guys, one or two things that I want to discuss. By the way, the newspaper analysis is now over. Okay, if you want to leave, you can leave, but these are some generic things that I am telling you. Okay, so this is something generic thing, and I insist that you should stay and listen this also. Fine. What I want to say, that see, the UPSC aspirants, many times they have a FOMO phenomena. FOMO means the fear of missing out. They think that virtually everything that is being told on any YouTube channel, any Telegram channel that is coming, it is important. But no, that is not the case. Your mind has limited cognitive capacity, and you need to use this cognitive capacity very intelligently. I insist that always please read very high quality content only. No need to read a lot of content, read less, but read only high quality content. That is the thing that you need, and through that high quality content, always try to form opinions. Okay, because your opinions, your suggestions are something that are being asked. Okay, simply anything that is being dumped in the name of current affairs, it is not needed, and you need to have such kind of an understanding. Clear? So that is something that I wanted to tell you, a very important part for our UPSC journey. So that is all guys about this particular thing. I hope you have understood it. Now we'll meet tomorrow. And guys, meanwhile, if you have liked the content, if you feel that that my efforts are helping you out, please do hit the like button. Please do subscribe to your channel, to our channel, as well as please do leave your lovely comment. Okay, so if you feel that the content is helping you out, please do that. Thank you guys. Now we'll be meeting tomorrow. Till then, please take care of yourselves. Okay.